The former British Prime Minister Tony Blair is warning his fellow Liberals that the woke left faces extinction, all as the center-left collapses in Europe. In this video, we're going to take a look at an article just published the other day warning Liberals that the left is indeed on the verge of collapse. We're going to look at a number of studies that show precisely that, and why Blair's proposed solution isn't going to cut it. The left is indeed doomed to the ash heap of history. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. We are your daily antidote to fake news as we each and every day analyze current events in light of some super awesome conservative trends to help you think better and feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, before we begin here, I am so excited to invite you to our brand new Patriot Entrepreneur Live event that we're holding on June 4th and 5th. It's a virtual conference, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own couch, and you can secure your seat simply by clicking on the link below. If you're looking to be a Patriot entrepreneur who's currently frustrated and feeling trapped in your woke job, passionate about your work, but disheartened about your woke environment like I felt 5 years ago, or perhaps you're a current business owner who wants to take your impact to the next level, then you're going to love our upcoming Patriot Entrepreneur Live. I've invited top conservative entrepreneurs to join me and share their wisdom with you as together we build a world of freedom without sacrificing our callings and talents. I hope to help you live out your calling free from cancel culture, free from woke corporations and the grasp of leftist ideologies, and give you all the tools you need to live a complete life of freedom. Now, if you click on that link below right now, you're going to be able to take advantage of our early bird special and register at a super low price. But that special offer is going to expire this weekend. So do not miss it. Click on that link below, and I'll see you for a weekend that promises to be a game changer for your life like never before. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. The former British Prime Minister Tony Blair is sounding the alarm among his fellow center-left Liberals. Look at the ominous title of his most recent article, Progressive Left Faces Extinction. Now, that's a title that anyone who's despairing here in the United States needs to read over and over again. The Progressive Left Faces Extinction. And the key point here is that such a title doesn't come from some conservative as if it were the projections of some, right-wing wishful thinking. This is coming from one of the most successful center-left politicians of the last 30 years. And even he is seeing that woke leftism, what we often refer to as progressivism, is indeed facing extinction. Now, his focus is, of course, on the British Labour Party, which he represented as Prime Minister for 10 years, back during the Clinton and the Bush years. So the article is focused on the British political context, but as we'll see throughout this video, what he's saying about the futility of British wokeism is equally true, now, albeit in different outworkings, for the wider context of Europe as well as the United States. So I certainly hope that this video encourages you over the weekend during these really taxing and frustrating times with bumbling Biden's regime and woke corporations and the like. We are the future. Those patriots who love faith, family, and freedom are the future, and even liberals like Tony Blair are admitting it. Now, if you don't know the context behind Blair's article, you'll definitely want to check out my latest video on the latest elections in the UK. They just happened last week, where voters and otherwise absolutely reliably left the city of Hartlepool in the northeast of England, which has been a Labour stronghold for decades, Labour being the traditional center-left party in England. The voters shocked pundits and politicians alike by defecting en masse and voting for the political right. Conservative candidate Jill Mortimer beat Labour's candidate by nearly 2-1 in the vote count. It was a stunning defeat for the Labour candidate in what has historically been really one of the most reliable Labour counties in the country. You definitely want to check out that video in terms of just getting a sense of why people like Tony Blair are really starting to panic here. I mean, when liberal faithfuls start using the word extinct for their own party, you know something's up. And so in the shadow of that horrific defeat in Hartlepool, Blair is issuing this warning, and he sets the context with a brief overview of where Europe as a whole is right now in terms of the center left. It's really an utter and complete collapse. Check this out. This is from Pew Research analyzing the trends over the last 20 years for the political left in Europe. Virtually every single center-left party throughout Western Europe is collapsing. Here's just a sampling. In Germany, the Social Democrats have fallen from 41% in 1998 to 21% 20 years later in 2018. It's literally been cut in half. In Sweden, the Social Democrats have fallen from 36% in 98 to 28%. In Finland, the Social Democrats have gone from 23% the vote in 1998 to 17% today. And perhaps most dramatically, we have a virtual leftist extinction in France and the Netherlands. In France, the Socialist Party has gone from 24% to 7%, largely due to the disaster that was their previous president, Hollande. And in the Netherlands, the Labour Party has gone from nearly 30% of the vote in 1998 to today, barely getting, if you can believe it, 6% of the vote. Now, this devastating data was corroborated by a study that came out of the Tony Blair Institute, which sounded the alarm back in 2018. It actually used this report to basically say to the center left in Western Europe, if you don't do something and do it soon, you really are going to cease to exist in most parts of Europe. And the statistics that they gave were breathtaking in terms of the demise of the center left in just 1 year alone, just the 2017 elections alone. Here's what they found. They documented the results of the 946 European districts that held political elections during the year 2017. And in 94% of 946 districts, 94%, the center-left coalitions lost. They lost 94% of the elections. Let that hit you. The center-left lost 94% of district-based elections held in just a single year alone. Now, this is an utter and complete political catastrophe. The New York Times came out and admitted that the center-left parties in Europe are basically going extinct. In many parts of Europe, they're not just in retreat, they practically ceased to exist. Gang, this is the New York Times talking here. Now, again, we're not talking right-wing wishful thinking here that's saying the left is going extinct. These are left-wingers themselves saying it. Now, getting back to this Blair piece published the other day, what Blair is basically arguing is that the collapse of the center left has opened up a vacuum that's being filled by the progressive left, the radical woke left, the social justice warrior left. And what he sees here is that means increasingly that what the political left has to offer is a combination of two rather unattractive wings of the party coming together. So on the one hand, the left is offering big bloated government with high taxes, stiff regulations, which the majority of populations finds rather unappealing. And on the other hand, the left is offering the most rabid and angry narcissistic form of identity politics, which the majority of the population finds repellent. And listen to what he says here. It's absolutely fascinating. Quote, defund the police may be the left's most damaging political slogan since the dictatorship of the proletariat. That's Marx, by the way. It leaves the right with an economic message which seems more practical and a powerful cultural message around defending flag, family, and fireside traditional values. To top it off, the right evinces a pride in their nation, while parts of the left seem embarrassed by the very notion. You know, in fact, we could go further than that, at least here in the States. The cultural Marxist left, the identity politics left, wants to destroy our nation, rebuild it in their own Marxist image. They're not embarrassed by our nation. They're repulsed by it. That's the key there. And you're going to love the reason why Blair thinks the left is going extinct. You're going to love this. You ready? He believes that the left is totally incapable of providing a viable alternative to the right today because they're so stuck in the past. Is that not cool? Right? Isn't it the political right, the conservatives, the traditionalists? Aren't we always the ones who are being accused of living in the past? Get with it, man. But Blair is on to something here. He notes that there are values like faith, family, and freedom that are timeless, that are equally applicable in any given age. And then there are fads that are popular for a time, but then inevitably fizzle out. The left had their heyday, as it were, in the 19th and 20th centuries. The 19th century gave them the fad of Marxism, and the 20th century gave them the fad of big government totalitarianism. And the modern day left is stuck with an out-of-date conception of government, rooted in what's called mass society, which is the industrialized society of 19th, 20th century. They're stuck with an out-of-date conception of big government, and they're stuck in a now totally defunct Marxist ideology. And that, he believes, is why the left is starting to go extinct throughout Europe and indeed eventually here in the United States. Listen to what he says here. Quote, "People like common sense, proportion, and reason. They dislike prejudice, but they dislike extremism in combating prejudice. They support the police and the armed forces. Again, it doesn't mean that they think those institutions are beyond reproach. Not at all. But they're on their guard for those who they think use any wrongdoing to smear the institutions themselves. And they expect their leaders to voice their own opinion, not subcontract opinion to pressure groups, no matter how worthy." Interesting. And then he goes on to give some advice for how the left may be able to find their way out of this historical bog they found themselves stuck in. But I got to say, I'm very skeptical of Blair's advice. And this is largely because I believe that leftism is inextricably linked to modernism. Right? It's the rise of the modernist world beginning in the 18th century that fuels leftist liberal sentiment and policy. Virtually all scholars agreed today that we are entering into a postmodern world. And as a result, I would argue, as a number of other scholars have argued, that the days of leftist liberalism are actually coming to an end. And as a number of studies confirm, and as more and more liberals like Blair are themselves admitting, those days are indeed upon us. Now, before you go, you'll definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded. It's on how the nation of France has officially banned woke, gender-neutral language in their schools, all as support for the nationalist populist presidential candidate, Marine Le Pen, surges. So we take a look at what's behind this government ban on what's called gender-inclusive writing throughout French schools, how this move is but the latest in French President Macron's recent pivot to the political right, and why it's all too little too late for Macron, as a new poll shows a surge in support for Le Pen. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.